Let us move on to the next part. How can we use Git with ABAP? Very interesting. So we already saw that Git is a source code repository management system. It is trusted by billions of developers across the globe. So why not we use also Git for ABAP? Yes. So SAP introduced Git for both ABAP on-premise as well as cloud system. So you can put your code inside the Git and GitHub. Using the Git, you can do complete source code management of your code in a very similar manner the way it happens for the Fiori project. So ABAP provides something called ABAP Git. It is a tool to import export code between ABAP system. So in the last episode, somebody asked me, is it possible that I can export your complete ABAP package and put it in a different system? For example, my on-premise system. So today exactly we're going to see in case you have a RAP project, which you had built into the ABAP on cloud system, you can put that into the Git, and from the Git, you can import the entire project in your on-premise system. So if a developer has a developer key to the system, the developer can perform actions already, just like a normal ABAP developer. ABAP Git enables the developers to do mass export, changes, and import, but not more than already possible to do manually. Something which is not manually possible, you can do it with the help of Git without even using the transport request also. Yes, that's the main advantage. Then running the automated security checks on the ABAP Git code will by design give a lot of errors, as ABAP Git will import, overwrite, and change ABAP artifact in the system in ways that might not be intended. So always review all your code in the remote repository before importing them into the target system. This is possible because ABAP Git is plain text, unlike traditional transport files. So on traditional transport files, you can do syntax check and checks, but on ABAP Git, it's plain text for the Git. So Git doesn't recognize the ABAP code, so it cannot do the lint checks on the Git itself. So you can run automated security checks on ABAP Git code. Will be by design to give a lot of errors. Now, that being said, ABAP Git is used by multiple organizations. All the ABAP Git changes are reviewed via pull request, and all 100 plus repository watchers are automatically notified for each change to the code base. So potentially all the changes are looked at by more people than traditional enterprise product. Yes, you have a question?
Oh, one doubt, like in ABAP, we have a version management in the same way, whether we'll have the same thing in the GitHub.
Yes. So that's what exactly we saw. When you commit, it's basically a version you're creating. Remember
Okay.
last class? When
Yes,
we did a
yes.
commit, it's a version. So
Okay.
ABAP version management is controlled via transport request.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So you will put your code from one system to another very easily using the Git. So from dev system or any system, you can push to the Git, and from the Git, you can download the code to the other systems. So first of all, in a on-premise system, you need to create a report, which is going to give you the Git features, which I will also show you in on-premise system today. And then if you want to integrate with Git, these reports needs to be copied to your on-premise system. So what I will show you now today is how can we move our code from one system to another system. And especially in today's episode, I will show you how can you basically move your code from a ABAP on cloud system. So we have our BTP account, and on this BTP account, we have our ABAP on cloud instance, which is connected from my Eclipse system. So my local Eclipse as a developer I'm using, and I have a package inside which I can access connected to a ABAP on cloud system. So there is no option to say right click on my ABAP package and download. It's not there, right? So if I want to move this package to my company's S4HANA system, how can I do this? So first of all, to do this, we need to have a GitHub repository on GitHub. I will create that. And then what I will do is I will, from the Eclipse, push this package, entire package code to this GitHub repository. And once the code is available in the GitHub, I will go to my on-premise system. I will create a ABAP Git report here, and I will download the code using ABAP Git to my on-premise system. So that way, quickly, you no need to copy everything one by one. No need to copy each CDS view, wrap object, class, nothing. Just in few steps, we will be able to move our code. Now, step number one is to push this. To do this, we need to add a further plugin for ABAP Git in Eclipse. Yes, that's the first step which we need to do. Once we add this plugin, will help you to push the code to the GitHub. Then step number two, when the code is available, we need to copy this report and then run a pull request in the system. So there are four steps. So first add a plugin, then do a push, then do a pull, and then then create a report and then do a pull. So let us go each and every step one by one in the system to achieve this completely. So first of all, we will add a plugin to our Eclipse environment so that we can push it to the GitHub. So we go back to Eclipse, go to help, install new software, and then you need to create a entry. Just need to enter a tool. I will give you the tool name. It's ABAP Git development update site. So this is the site you need to enter. Press enter. And now you see ABAP Git for ABAP development tool, ADT. So select that, click next, 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 and finish this installation. So this is the first step you all need to do. It's not showing me next because I have already done it last evening. So that is why it is already done. So once it is done, you can actually go back and see here. I will get basically a perspective. So once it is installation is complete, the Git will restart, sorry, Eclipse will restart. And then you can come to window, show view, other, and you can see ABAP Git repository and ABAP Git staging. These two options you will see. So use control key and select these two and open them, and they will open over here. So you see ABAP Git repository, and it will also show you all the repositories which are currently there in the system, which people have created in the past. Yes. So that's a great feature. So this is a great feature. So first of all, let's add this plugin to our Eclipse environment. I will give you the update site link in the description of this video. So the plugin is now available, you can see, and it's pointing to the branches. So our next step is to go back and create a GitHub repository. So let me go to my GitHub account and I will create a new repository and I will say corporate training EY. So this is will have complete code for RAP training. Yes. And right now I'm creating it as a public, but you can create it as a private repository also. I will select add a README file. This is very important so that Git will automatically create a default version for us. You click on create repository. You can see the name of the branch will be master branch. I click on create repository and a repository got created for corporate training EY. And now what I will do is I will connect to this repository and bind it to my ABAP package. So let's move on to the next step. So after creating the repository, we are going to proceed further, copy the URL from here, switch over right away back to the ABAP development tool on Eclipse. And now we will just start connecting our package, which is ZEYAO, in which I've done all my development. You can see we have developed almost everything inside. There are several CDS views, projection views, behavior definition, behavior implementation, metadata extensions, everything which we developed throughout this entire journey. I can in one shot put to the GitHub. To do so, we are just going to click this plus button in the plugin. And now we are going to give the URL of our GitHub repository on the GitHub. Click next button. You see it has automatically picked up the master branch. And now we will choose our package. So I'll choose ZEY_AO. So that's my package. I select that. And I say folder logic is full. Click on next button. Transport request is okay, no problem, and say finish. So now it has linked to my GitHub repository. And if you come down at the bottom, you see an entry over here with our email ID. It is saying it is linked now to the GitHub. But if you go back to the GitHub, you will still not see the source code updated in Git. Of course not, because we didn't do push. So now I'm going to right click and I will say, I would like to push the change. So we can right click and say stage and push, or we can switch here to the next tab. Let me maximize. So here is where we can now push our changes. So we can easily choose what we need and we can push. But before that, you need to come back, right click and just do a pull so that it will fetch the detail from the GitHub to your package first. It will sync basically the README file, which we created in the GitHub account in our repository to our local package. So everything will get synced. So you see the pull is running. So it has fetched the details, all the details from the GitHub to my local environment, which means now we are ready to push the change. So we can right click on this branch and say stage and push. It's not showing me. Yes, now you see it has got all the objects, all the classes, everything, behavior definition, behavior implementation, everything has come. So you have to come here. Once the pull is done, right click and say stage and push. Then you will see all the changes here. And you see it has automatically taken my email ID as an author for the change. Good. So we can now go ahead and stage everything. So just come here, Control A, select everything and stage. And then we give a message to push. So we can give a message, ABAP or wrapped training, EY, final changes. And we can say commit and push. So now it is asking user ID and password to push. So we will use our PAT token, as I told you before. Use my user ID and I will copy my PAT token and use that. You can store the PAT token in secure store and click OK. So you can see the push has been started now and it is sending all the changes to the GitHub. So once you go back to the GitHub repository, it was very fast. You can come back and see now all the changes of your entire ABAP package are updated over here. Wow, look at that. All my CDS views, my behavior definition, behavior implementation, service definition, service implementation, classes, behavior pools, local classes, tables, data elements, package details, everything is now updated in the GitHub. Wow, amazing. You cannot do this in ABAP. You cannot export a ABAP package without transport. Superb. So what will be the next step is to import this entire data, entire package in our on-premise system, our S/4HANA system. So let us go ahead and see that in action. So the ABAP Git provides a beautiful documentation page, which we can go to. It's called ABAP Git documentation guide. And in this, they will provide SSL setup, global setting and personal setting. So SSL setup is first we need to go to github.com and download the certificate and import this certificate to our SAP system. How do you do that? You go to GitHub, click this lock icon, download the certificate by going to connection is secure, certificate is valid. Go to detail and export this certificate. I will export on my desktop. You see it's exported now. I can just close and I go to my SAP S4HANA system in my company. So let me connect to my on-premise system in my company. And over here, we will just import it. So we go to transaction S trust. And here we go to the SSL client anonymous. Go to any of the system. Go for change mode. Come down to import certificate and browse the path where we had kept our certificate for GitHub. So it was this one. Click OK, allow, and you see this was the certificate. So we can say add to certificate list. So certificate already exists because I did it already in the last episode. So that's the first change which you need to do so that our ABAP system can start trusting the Git. Yeah, trusting the Git. So this is a very important step which we need to follow in the step number 1. Once this is done, let's go to the step number 2. I'm going to give you this link in the chat. I mean, this configuration would take time for you to do, and you might need to take help from the basis also because you may not have permission to S trust transaction code. So once it is done, we already saw we go to S trust T code and we did import the certificate. Yes, this was the option I chose, import it, done. Then we need to add also these parameters in RZ11 transaction code. So we go to our SAP system and RZ11 T code, /n. And here we need to add these parameters, values. You can see I've already maintained them. We can come back and you can see here all the values you need to maintain. So this is a setting which you all need to take help of your basis in your company and get these changes carried out in your company for your basis system, for your S4HANA system, or for whatever company system you're using. You need to carry out these changes. Yes. So once these changes are carried out, what eventually will happen is we will be able to utilize this information in our company. And once we use this information, we will be able to connect to the GitHub from our company S4HANA system that we will be able to do very easily without any problem. So that right after that point, you can connect and you can utilize the connection in your company with the GitHub. So the next step will be to copy a report provided by SAP. So SAP provides a default report which we need to copy to our system. So what is that report? Where is that code? So you come down. Once the setup is done, installing the online repo or keeping code up to date, uninstall repo. So these are the things you can check, or you can just go to installation and you can see here install standalone version or install developer version. We should see somewhere the ABAP. Yes, here it is. Download the ABAP code. This is the one which we need to use. So this is the code, complete code you need to copy in your computer and then copy this to your SAP system. So go back to your SAP S4HANA system and create a report Z ABAP Git standalone. This is the report name. And in this report, you paste all the source code. So Control A, Control V, and you see all the code is pasted. Done. So now we have done all the code and we have pasted all the code and the code is now available and it's been pasted. Fantastic. So as a next step, what we will be doing once the code is pasted, yes, we can now run this code to upload, download from Git. That's all you need to do as a configuration. I'm not sure if at the moment you guys can do this in your company system because you may need help from your basis team. But I have already done it, so I can just show you the demo. Later on, you can hands-on in your company system. So now go back and I run this report. So this is the ABAP Git. And what I will do is I will just connect to our repository where we just push all the code from our ABAP on cloud system. So I click on new online. I will put the Git repository URL. So what's my Git repository URL? Where we updated all the source code. This is the one. I say copy, come back to my company system, paste the URL. And the package name is ZEY underscore AO is what I want to create. For your information, this package is not there right now in my company system. So I go to my company system, SEAT, go to packages, and I search. You see the package is not there. Cool. So currently there is nothing in my company system, my on-premise system. And now I'll put the branch. You can keep it empty if it's a default branch. Yes. And then you say uh, create online repo and create package also. First, we'll create the package. So let's create the package, EY corporate training. And we can save, click transport request, save. Okay. And now we can just start create online repo. And you can see it has fetched the detail of all the artifacts which are there, your travel processor scenario, approver scenario, travel scenario, everything it has fetched. Yes, which will be created. And I can just say pull. I choose my package name and say okay. I choose my transport request in which all the objects which are pulled out will be logged. So this TR, if I release, it can go to the quality in production system of my own premise system in my company. So I don't have to manually copy every object from the ABAP on cloud system to my on-premise system. I can directly have everything imported in just few seconds with the full security of the Git. You can create a private Git repository, and that way nobody can see your code also. So it is possible to create private Git repository. So within seconds, I've got my entire set of artifacts downloaded, and you see there are activation errors because at the moment v4 service or certain services are not supported. That's okay, but at least rest of the objects are imported. Even these are imported, but they are not understood by on-premise system because they are cloud objects. You see, they are cloud objects, so system don't understand them. That's why the activation error is there, which is okay. But if I now go back to my package, yes, and I search, I have a package, and if I expand, voila, you can see I've got everything imported. Superb. Look at that. Whatever we created throughout this journey, everything got imported within seconds to my system, and I don't have to go back and manually create these things. I can just have, you can have thousands of objects in your cloud system, and within seconds you can import them in your system here.